Perhaps readers of this chronicle will have heard the old saying, when Pterodax is away, the Rahi will play. Our leader spent most of his time off of Destral, particularly after the Toahaga's rebellion. This left the rest of us to our own devices, particularly when we were visiting that island. For example, shortly after Pterodax left for Metru Nui to initiate the next stage of the plan, I had a visit from Kirox. He was holding a dead specimen of my new Rahi, the Lorak. He did not look at all happy, which was nothing new.
Lorak! Lorak! Kirox raged. I created the Lorak millennia ago, and it wasn't this winged waste of protodermis. How dare you use the same name and try to replace my creation?
Your creation is best forgotten, I had replied. As usual, you design Rahi that are a bludgeon rather than a dagger. I, on the other hand, put some subtlety into my work. It's as if I signed my name on them.
Sign your name on them? Spat Kirox. You can't even spell your name.
I was about to crush him with the perfect insult in response when the world shook. We were both thrown off our feet as a violent earthquake struck Destral. Masonry cracked, ceilings collapsed, and it was all I could do to shapeshift a pair of claws to dig into the stone floor and hold on. The shaking lasted perhaps a few seconds, or perhaps forever, depending on your viewpoint. When it was over, I struggled to my feet. The fortress of Destral was in ruins. Some of our prisoners were dead, some wounded. At least one of my fellow Makuta had seen his armor damaged to the point where his energy was floating freely in the air. Fortunately, we were able to get him into an exotoa body until his armor could be repaired. Most beings would have reacted to the event with despair, even panic, and I had no doubt many of those mewling matoran out in the larger universe were doing just that. But not Kirox and I, for we knew what the tremors meant. They were a sign that the plan had worked. Mata Nui had fallen before the Brotherhood's attack. Now, if all went right, Pterodax would seize complete control of the city of Metru Nui, and we would be close to the power we all longed for. Alas, the best laid plans of Makuta and Matoran. The days following the fall of the Great Spirit proved to be a complete fiasco. Consider! Our glorious leader was defeated in battle by 6 novice Toa and a Turaga. The Metru Nui Matoran we so prized were spirited out of the universe by those same Toa, leaving the City of Legends abandoned. Sidorak was killed and our Vizrak legion scattered to the winds. Pterodax's rash actions led to the death of 2 Dark Hunters and ended up sparking a war with that organization that rages to this day. The Mask of Time, a treasure beyond price, wound up in the hands of a Toa alongside a pledge by Pterodax not to menace the Matoran for a full year. It was around the time that Icarax began to grumble in earnest about Pterodax's leadership. He proposed his own plan: seize Metru Nui, Matoran or no, and from there launch a wave of conquest that would make the Baraki look like a bunch of irritable sand frogs. Crush entire continents beneath our heels, loot the hulls of Ninra and Artaka, if we could ever find that island again, and dare the Toa to try and dislodge us from this power. Icarax actually had the insane courage to try to implement his ideas without approval from the rest of the Brotherhood. He left his assigned realm of Karzani and journeyed south with a small army of Manus crabs. A number of small settlements on the northern continent had fallen to him before Pterodax confronted him. The battle that followed was epic. Icarax was the better fighter, but Pterodax was more cunning. He allowed Icarax to pound him for hours on end, until the rebels' energies were almost exhausted. Then Pterodax exerted the smallest amount of his will and turned the Manus against Icarax. Once he was surrounded, Pterodax used every power at his command to defeat, no, demolish, no, perhaps humiliate would be the better word, Icarax. Surprisingly, after all that, Pterodax let him live. Your talents are still of some use to me, and so I will not kill you today, the leader of the Brotherhood said. But one day, perhaps in a year, perhaps in 1,000, or 100,000 years, I may grow tired of you, Icarax, and you may cease to be amusing, with your posturing and your boasting and your lust for battle. And on that day, your armor would be a meal for metal-eating scavengers, and your essence a wisp on the wind. Although Icarax had made light of it later, claiming Pterodax had been too afraid to try and kill him, I know he never forgot that battle. He remains to this day a danger to the plan and a threat to Pterodax. Expecting him to be anything else would be like expecting a Zivon to place its head in your lap and purr. Pterodax did not linger on Destral to oversee repairs to the fortress. He returned to his lair at Mangaya, readying himself for the prophesied arrival of the Toamata, the keys to all our planning, all our hopes, and all our dreams of conquest.